baby. Go, sexy, show me something.
Taking it as Bergeron, nicely able to step away. From Winifred, they score!
Here's a chance, Potter right in on goal, he scores. Oh my, what a move by the rookie.
2-on-1, Pasternak moving in with Marchand, get it to it, score! Into the zone, Hoyle dances in, backhand, score!
Lindholm, right wing corner, Pasternak is there, he scores! David Pasternak wins it for Boston!
Welcome in, everyone, to Bruins Tape to Tape. I am your host tonight, Maria from Watertown. We are recording on Wednesday evening, October 30th, the night before the ghosts and goblins start hitting our streets and the rest of us just stuff our face with all the leftover candy. But before I get started, I want to welcome in my co-host, Caroline with a K. Welcome in.
Hey, Maria, how's it going?
Good.
You know, I was excited for spooky season.
Yeah.
I was excited for spooky season, but I have not enjoyed the horrors that have been on my TV the last couple of weeks.
No, a little bit like Nightmare on Elm Street, but I have a very burning question before we get going, given that tomorrow is Halloween. What is the candy du jour in your household?
Always is Reese's. Reese's peanut butter cups. I love especially the white chocolate ones. I buy a bag of white chocolate ones for me, so I don't eat the bag of candy that gets handed out to the kids. So, and they get the regular ones.
Nice. Well, I'm a strawberry Twizzler girl or a Twix. So that's what I'll be. Yeah. Hence why I bought a bag of Twix and no one will come to the house. So it will be all mine, but
you have to buy the candy. That's the pros and cons, right? You buy the candy that you like, because if there's leftovers, then you don't throw it away. But the temptation to eat all of the Halloween candy before you hand it out, very high, because I've already had to replace the candy.
Well, and I will tell you something. If the Bruins continue playing in the manner in which they're playing, there won't be enough candy around here for me to console my misery. So let's get right down to business. On our agenda for tonight is, we just touched, gave you a little hint. We're going to talk about the Bruins' recent 3-game homestand and the mixed reviews that are going to be sent in the direction of the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand added a couple of additional milestones to his ever-growing resume, which we'll talk about. The Bruins also made a waiver transaction with, we can speculate as to why we believe that waiver transaction was made. We're going to talk briefly on our thoughts on the NESN Unobstructed Views broadcast that happened during the Dallas Stars game, and then we'll preview the week ahead for the Boston Bruins.
Yes.
So as we typically do, we'll take our spin around the rink, because there is a lot of NHL news.
Very busy.
Piece that just broke recently that came across my X feed was that the San Jose Sharks have just made a trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Sharks have acquired defenseman Timothy Liljegren in exchange for a defenseman from Toronto and a couple of draft picks, one in 2025, which I believe is a conditional, and another one in 2026. In the meantime, you also, Caroline, mentioned a trade that happened earlier this week.
Yep. There was a trade between the Utah Hockey Club and Detroit Red Wings. So it was a player and draft pick trade. Nothing as exciting, though, I think, as this Toronto trade, because that has a much greater impact on the Boston Bruins and the rest of the season, because they still have to play the Toronto Maple Leafs 3 more times. And I thought that was a pretty significant trade to send Liljegren out to San Jose. And you know what? It might not necessarily be the death sentence that it was even a few weeks ago. The San Jose Sharks finally got their first win.
Don't look now, folks. They've won 2 games in a row.
Watch out. Here they come. I mean, as a hockey fan, I love the sport. I hate to see that much losing, right? I mean, it just, that sucks. So yeah. I'm glad for the fans and for the young talent that's out there, and that they finally have their wins and they're getting it together. Like, that's great for the game of hockey. Maybe the Bruins should take a look at what they did to turn things around and string 2 wins together. I don't know. There might be a lesson there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. The other big piece of news that just broke at 3:44 is that Connor McDavid is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks with for the Oilers with an ankle injury. And I think what happened is, in the early stages of a game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Monday, he got injured and came off the ice, and I believe they sent him immediately back to Edmonton. So he didn't even didn't stay with the team. So that is that's significant, and one, would say the star player in the league who's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. And honestly, as hockey players go, ankle injuries are so tweaky. You wonder if it will be something that could potentially be re-injured, linger throughout the course of the season. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, folks. So that's not great news for the Edmonton Oilers, who really haven't been off to the best of starts.
No, they also are on the struggle bus. I mean, the entire league continues to be in this bizarro world of strange and unexpected poor starts. I mean, if you're looking just at the divisions, the Edmonton Oilers are in 7th place in the Pacific Division. They're an under 500 team. And of course, now their number 1 player is out for a few weeks. The Nashville Predators, even though the Bruins lost to them, they, again, that's another team that on paper has no business being down at the bottom of the barrel with the Chicago Blackhawks. And the Metropolitan, that is actually probably looking as it should, with, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and the Islanders kind of hanging out at the bottom. But again, you've got your Boston Bruins, our beloved team.
Our team's on that struggle bus too, to some degree.
Yeah. So
not scraping the bottom of the standings, but
it's weird, and other teams that you certainly would never expect to be flying high are just all of a sudden right there. So weird still very weird.
It's
don't
still
know what's
early
going on.
Too. Again, there's a lot of hockey to be played.
Oh, for sure.
And our view of things is based exclusively on what we see with the team that we follow, that we're talking about. And so this, the struggle has been real. Doesn't mean that, a team can't turn things around, right? You string together 3 or 4, wins in a row, or you take, points from a handful of game. And at this point in the season, you're still kind of in the mix. You're giving yourself a chance. You're still giving yourself a chance. We say that the Bruins, are at the bottom of the standings, but let's be honest, they're right now in their division. It's a 4-way tie for last place, so keep that in mind. And a couple years ago, Florida Panthers were able to turn it around after a pretty dismal start. So anything is still possible. We are still relatively optimistic about the outcome. Doesn't mean we're happy Correct.
what's been going
Because
on.
we
But
are not, folks. Don't let all this joy and niceness fool you, because there's gonna be, as this
yes.
podcast goes on, there's gonna be some criticism levied at the Boston Bruins, at least
Yep.
from this co-host tonight. I know you're, my voice of reason, but I think even you will have
I
to
am
admit
irritated.
there are
Yeah.
some things that are extremely irritating. But
Well,
let's finish.
the last happy thing that I think they're both related. The last happy note before we dive into the less fun stuff is that we got to see two players return home in pretty emotional returns home. One was a farewell, and one was a first time back. I'll see
First
you again
time
soon.
back.
So
So
with Steven
the
Stamkos.
farewell was for Marc-Andre Fleury, who returned to Pittsburgh for what was likely his last time there, because this is his retirement year. And he was greeted with the flowers, literally and figuratively, flowers that he deserves. I mean, he is one of the winningest goalies now in NHL history. And if you listen to how people talk about him, just one of the nicest guys in the league. And not only that, folks, he won 3 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins, 2009, 2016, 2017. I believe he also has a Vezina to his credit. This guy is, Hall of Famer, hands down, no questions asked. And it was so nice the way that he was treated and greeted by the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise and by the fan base there.
Yep. He's the last of his kind. We talked about this last year on the pod when he hit his 1,000 games. Goalies play a very different game today. He's about to turn 40, which is unbelievable for a skater, let alone a goaltender.
Let alone a goalie, yeah.
I mean, the damage that's done on your body as a goaltender is, look at what happened with Tuukka Rask and however many other goaltenders. So, they don't make them like they used to, and they certainly don't play them like they used to. And this is a player and a goaltender that I am sad to see retire. And we will never see another goaltender accomplish what he has accomplished in his career ever. So
and he just
enjoy
seems
him.
like a great guy. He was treated a little shabbily, for lack of a better word, by the Vegas Golden Knights. They used him and then discarded him like he was an insignificant component of what they were able to do. So good for him for taking the high road. Maybe his agent didn't take the high road at that point in time, but Marc-Andre Fleury certainly did. So good for him. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more showering of praise as he makes his way through other visiting locker rooms. The other nostalgia was Steven Stamkos returned to Tampa Bay for his first game as a Nashville Predator, and was again treated in a very similar manner as well he should have been for all of the years that he devoted and dedicated to that Tampa Bay Lightning franchise. The tribute that they provided to him on the video board was very, very moving. You could tell that he was getting emotional. It seemed like John Cooper was the coach of Tampa Bay, was also getting emotional. Unfortunately, the Predators lost in overtime 3-2, but still, those, to me, sometimes I think a lot of these video tributes are overdone. you know, particularly for players who have spent, you know, a season or, you know, not a significant amount of time with the team.
Yeah.
But for players like Marc-Andre Fleury and Steven Stamkos, well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was lovely to see. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Tampa Bay Lightning. And there are no longer any undefeated teams in the NHL because
darn,
they just lost their first game. You care to guess who beat them?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Gee, they lost to the Bruins 3-2 in overtime, yet they were able to pick themselves up and beat the undefeated team in the league 6-4.
It's almost like that loss lit a fire under their asses to get them motivated to play the next game. Wow.
Funny how that works. No, funny how that works. So we're going to dive into all that stuff, folks. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our lovely sponsors.
There's nothing like seeing a hockey game live, especially an NHL game. But ticket prices can be outrageous these days. That's why I use the Game Time app. Game Time has tickets for all kinds of live events. Plus, they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see the Bruins play live even easier. I love how I can get curated deals that make it easier to find the best prices on seats, and I can preview the seat view before I buy. And the lowest price guarantee is huge. Tickets at TD Garden don't come cheap these days. Game Time guarantees the lowest price or they will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. Maria and I like to put a little money down on individual player performances. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Okay, and we're back. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you all for staying tuned in with us. So since our last episode, we have had 3 games under our belts. So we played the Dallas Stars, which was a 5-2 loss at home. Ouch. Then we play the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday night, which was a very spirited game. Bruins win it 3-2 in overtime. And then we end with the game just last night versus a limping and what seemed like lifeless Philadelphia Flyers team, and you lose to them 2-0. So I ask you, my friend. Help me understand what is going on here with the performance on the 24th versus the Dallas Stars and the performance versus the Philadelphia Flyers. Mind you, if you're a good team and you want to promote yourself as a good team, Philadelphia Flyers, teams like the Philadelphia Flyers, are teams you should beat. Teams you should beat. Now, the Dallas Stars, they're a really good team. Really good team. They've already been deemed a potential cup contender.
Yeah.
And how you weren't able to get yourself prepared, ready, focused to play against that team after you just got your asses kicked too by the Nashville Predators. Like I'm really struggling here to understand what this team's identity is.
Yeah. Well, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head. There is no identity at this point, 10 games in. You know, I said a couple weeks ago, ask me after week 3 where things are, how I feel, what are the concerns, and I'm irritated. I am downright irritated. And that's worse than being angry and, frustrated. Like, I'm irritated because the Bruins are too good to be this bad. Connor Bedard was interviewed. I heard this brief snippet of an interview on 32 Thoughts earlier this week. And he was quoted by the media in his interview. He was expressing his frustration, which understandable. Chicago hasn't been a contender for anything in years, a decade, right? And he was frustrated, rightly so. And he's sitting there and he's saying, we're just straight up not good. And I gotta tell you, two thoughts crossed my mind when I heard that interview. Why are we not hearing that from any of the players? Now, maybe someone has said something, and it's just not crossed my feed. I will admit, this past week, I was so frustrated and irritated with them. I didn't want to really listen to anything that anyone had to say. But the other thing is, the second thought that crossed my mind is, again, in the case of Chicago, yeah, you don't want to be bad, but you are, because that's how you ended up there. And that's how the Boston Bruins haven't ended up with any of these generational talents, right? Because they are too good to be that bad. And that's what's particularly frustrating, as well as the fact that we've joked many a time on this pod, especially towards the end of the season, how, my dad and I have a little tradition where at the end of the season, whenever that season ends, we say, all right, what's the epitaph on the tombstone this year for the Boston Bruins? And I swear to God, it's been one of 5 year after year after year. It's they can't finish. They can't clear. They can't control the puck. They can't score. They're not fast enough. The power play is garbage. Like, take your pick. This is the grab bag of them all happening all at once.
All of the above right now.
All of the
above.
What's the opposite of a greatest hits album? The greatest stinkers of all time. All the worst things are happening now. And again, I like to try and be optimistic one. I try not to be a fan where, oh my God, the sky is falling. And a little bit of adversity isn't a bad thing, right? We look back at that perfect season that they had a couple years ago, and the argument was, well, they died in the first round because they never faced adversity, right? Okay, great. I believe in Brad Marchand as a leader. I think he has that grit and determination to like single-handedly attempt to turn it around. And we saw that a couple of times. We saw that in the Toronto game in overtime where he was on Austin Matthews, like white on rice in that OT. And he just was glommed onto him in classic Brad Marchand fashion. And then he had a couple of moments, even just like that last night during the Philadelphia game. Dallas was an embarrassment because of the turnovers. The Flyers game was an embarrassment because nobody could score to save their life. They had a 5-on-3 power play situation.
Bingo.
That is a must score situation.
You
no
did nothing
excuses.
with it. You did nothing with it. And when
Unacceptable.
Philadelphia killed off that 5-on-3, killed off both
gave 'em life.
penalties, that
Gives you
planted
life.
the seed in their heads to say, we have a
can do this.
freaking chance to win this game. Do you know
Yeah.
how many shots they blocked in that game?
God.
Okay.
Was it 27? Oh my God.
28 freaking shots they blocked in that game. Okay.
And then what was the final shots on goal by Boston? It was quite high. It was quite high.
It was 23-19. So in the first period, Bruins outshot them 11-7. They outshot them in the second period 9-6. But here's the dismal part of it. Now, you're already down and you only can muster 3 shots on goal in the third period.
Jesus. I didn't realize
Jesus
that.
is right. Jesus is right. Okay. So folks, I know we do normally we have our segments where we go down and we, break down each game and our stick taps and our penalty box. I don't have a lot of stick taps this week.
I have very few.
I will give them stick taps for the Toronto game because that was one of their better and I think relatively complete games, other than the last minute 30 when our $9 million defenseman and Johnny Beecher didn't communicate well, and here comes Austin Matthews in by himself. Short of that, I thought that they played a really decent game. I just want to go back, though, and touch upon some of the angst with the special teams units. So the Dallas Stars came in as a very good team. However, until they played the Boston Bruins, they were abysmal on the power play. The Dallas Stars scored 3 power play goals just in the second period because you guys can't control your sticks. You're not moving your feet. You're not skating, and you're getting called for lazy ass penalties, and teams are taking advantage of that.
Yep. Yeah. I think the frustration for me reached a maddening height during that Dallas game because that was just another game in the long line of games where it was the sheer number of penalties. And let's be honest, they weren't even good penalties. It's one thing if it's a hockey play penalty, but what they're doing is getting penalties for stick infractions. Well, why does a stick infraction happen? I swear to God, we had this conversation last week. I might be going crazy.
Yeah.
But
we're not
you
going
have a
crazy.
stick infraction
Yeah.
when you
Look,
are
high stick.
not
Look,
in position.
interference. You're out of position because you're
Right.
standing around, not moving your feet.
Well,
okay.
and let me say, you mentioned now you've given me a quick segue back into the Philadelphia game, because I will say after the Dallas game, I kind of wonder if that was a high watermark for those kinds of infractions, because I feel like we saw quite a few, like much fewer of those penalties in the Toronto game and in the
right.
Philadelphia game, which was great because also it's just
that's part of my complete game. They stayed out of the box. Lines were able to play together fluidly for regular.
Right. You're not exhausting your PK.
Right. Although they did piss away a 4-minute power play when
they did.
Nylander high sticked Pasta, chipped his tooth, BFFs forever. And 4 minutes of power play time, which,
that's another one.
Those are you've got to put in a goal there. Now,
that's a must score.
Credit to the third line, because they came out immediately after that, almost immediately after that 4-minute power play ended. And the third line comes out and scores a goal. Justin Brazeau.
The backhand, the Brazeau one, and then the immediate one afterwards, that backhanded goal, almost no look backhanded pass from below the goal line from Johnny Beecher to Mark Kastelik. Right in the slot. Stunning. Perfection. That was an A++ play. The rest of that game, I will say, for as much of an improvement as it was, I would still only give that game a B+, because it just didn't have that energy and decisive control that we have seen, like when they played Colorado. That was like, you could feel that energy and that control and that dominance. And it was missing some of that vibe, except in that particular moment. But, the thing that I found the most frustrating about that Philadelphia game, I can't tell you the number of times I screamed at the TV, move your damn feet. Stop standing there and passing it. And I lob this criticism most fervently to David Pastrnak. You are not Alexander Ovechkin.
With him.
Yeah. Do not stand in that circle and just sit and wait. How do you expect to get a shot off if you are standing still? That's not what a team is. And I feel like what I have seen from him, I don't know if this is him. I don't know if this is a coaching decision, if these are what the plays are, but it seems to me that the Bruins, Pasta, someone has decided that the way that the Bruins are going to play is to hand up to him. Here you go, sir. Score us a goal. That's not teamwork. That is not a full team play. You do not just attempt over and over and over again to hand off the perfect pass to one player in the exact same spot every single
time.
And that drives me bonkers.
It's almost as if they were disrespecting the Flyers and thought that they could just have this, simple game plan against them. Monty alluded to it after the game when he spoke in the post game about, again, they're saying the same stuff over and over again. He sounds like a more pleasant version almost of Bill Belichick. Got to coach better, got to play better, got to do this better. Take your game plan, Monty, and flush it down the toilet. Okay. Right. Because these game plans that you keep referring to are not working. Right.
Right. And you've heard me say 1,000 times as well. One of the things that makes hockey so unique as a team sport compared to the other big sports is you cannot get away with one amazing player on your team. One good player does not make a champion, right? I've said this so many times about the Edmonton Oilers, and it came proof positive this year when they lost to a much more complete team in the Florida Panthers. And I feel like that is what Boston is trying to do. It doesn't matter if that one player is Connor McDavid himself, arguably the best player in the world. You cannot go all the way relying on one player. And it just seems like they're constantly just trying to get it to him. And that is the difference, I think, when trying to understand what makes that Kastelik line work so well, besides their style of play and their ability to get into the zone, like just slice through defense and just waltz right into offensive zones by some miracle.
You're hitting upon it. They don't care which one of them puts it in the net.
Boom. They are just getting, it doesn't matter who it is. They are just in their position,
right,
and they go to whomever. And how many times we've seen Mark Kastelik score in front of the net? We've seen Cole Koepke score right in front of in the exact same spot that Kastelik was in when they scored against Toronto. And we've seen Beecher. We have seen all three of them rotate and be in different positions, and they are moving their feet. Because when you move your feet, you are less predictable. You can get off better shots. You can respond and react much faster. And I'm just sick and tired of literally watching them play pass back and forth. And then somebody shoots a pass a little too hard and it jumps over Charlie McAvoy's stick and he's gone now. That's. And when you're playing Tortorella, Torts coaches his
not know. How do you not know?
Exactly the same way every time.
A shit ton of shots. How, Monty, do you not know that? And that you didn't have your team prepared and ready for that.
He has such a distinct coaching style.
When you play for John Tortorella.
You got to be okay with that. So, and I said this week for my stick taps, I decided last night, halfway through the second period, I'm like, nope. All right. I got my stick taps and penalty box. I said, I will give stick taps for this past week to our goaltenders because both of them were phenomenal. Both
this is
of
what
them
aggravates me about last night's game. And Jonas Corposalo hadn't played in 13 days. He
phenomenal.
Was awesome. If it wasn't for him keeping you, he gave them a chance to win. He made tremendous stick saves. He made some awesome glove saves.
My God.
He was good. And I want to ask you a question. Because I'm starting to get pissed off about this now.
Yes, I am so mad.
Okay. When are our big defensemen going to start goddamn playing like big defensemen? When is that going to happen? When is that going to happen?
I don't know. I got to tell you, was it must have been the Dallas game that Mason Lohrei didn't play. I didn't know he didn't play until last night, 2 games later.
Well, let me tell you.
What does that tell you?
He wasn't the only one.
He didn't play.
Maybe he
did, but he didn't. I didn't know. No.
He had some issues. He's fighting the puck man in our own end, but he's one of a number of problems on this team right now. And I will tell you that me personally, I feel that there is zero chemistry with any of the lines except for Kastelik, Kepke, and Beecher. Zero chemistry whatsoever. And the core players of this team need to stop talking, and start doing. They don't have an identity. When you look at, we pulled up these stats. Okay, should we share these stats now, folks? In the last 4 games. Now I'm going to go down through, and the players who have all either played in at least 4 or at a minimum 3 of these games. Okay, so you have David Pastrnak with 3 points, but he's a -3. Okay. Brad Marchand, 2 points because he finally got his first goal. It was a huge one, an overtime winner, and we'll talk about the couple of milestones he hit with that goal. But he's a -5.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Matt Patra, 2 points, -1, not too bad. Let's see. Where does it get really scary here? Morgan Geekie, 1 point, -1. As I go down through here, this is the frightening part. Charlie Coyle, 0, 0, 0, -3. Okay.
And he's a -8 on the whole right now, by the way.
Okay. Hampus Lindholm is giving you pretty much nothing, and he's a -4. Okay. Zadorov, nothing. Brandon Carlo, -2. Charlie McAvoy, -5, nothing. Like, it just goes on and on and on, where the players who you need, Pavel Zacha, okay? 1 assist. He's a -2.
Yep.
He's missing. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. This is, I don't know if this is the yips or what, but it's, I don't know.
You can't
I
sit
don't
all
know
these
the
guys.
answer.
You can't sit all these guys because it's just
because you would have Brad Marchand,
you'd have
and
the
a
Providence Bruins
goaltender
up here, right? You'd have the Providence Bruins up here if you wanted to tell all of these guys who are literally giving you nothing, who should be giving you more. And my bigger concern is why?
Right.
Why? Because this is not what we're accustomed to from the likes of Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha and Charlie McAvoy. What is going on here? And so when you try to figure out where things are going awry, and then everyone starts pressing, players start pressing, coaches start pressing, the GMs getting, a little tight upstairs as he's watching, because we're 10 games in now. It's not a huge sample size.
No,
but
you should have your identity.
There are clearly okay. This team is slow. We knew it would be slow, but this slow.
Well, that's from not moving their feet, right? They're slow looking because that is physics, right? A giant tanker on the St. Lawrence River is going to look like it's going slowly next to that little speedboat, because the little speed, but here's the thing. They can counteract that by moving their feet. Move your feet.
And the way they're playing now is not sustainable. And it's not a recipe for sustained success in the league. And things don't get any easier for them
No,
with
no.
with the road ahead. They're
Mm-mm.
tomorrow they're playing the Carolina Hurricanes, who are off to a very good start. I believe they're 5-2.
They're always a good team.
Yeah.
They're a good team.
Then you've got the Flyers again in Philadelphia, who are probably going to be on quite a high from having beaten you. Although, it was only 2-0, folks. And I know I said this a lot last season. It's not the loss. In this instance, it is the loss, but it's also how you lose, too.
How you lose.
It's also how you lose.
Sure.
There are too many freaking passengers on this team right now. And I'm not quite sure what the leaders on this team are doing or saying in the locker room. And I don't need to know. But if they're doing and saying the right things or something or anything, that would likely translate to the performance on the ice. So I have to question
and I'm glad
that.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up because that thought crossed my mind during last night's game, because 2 games in a row, we see Brad Marchand really start to be his old self, right? I think he was a little bit behind with getting started because of his surgeries, and he had that much more truncated preparation time. But I really started to see his old self where he was just on the players, pushing, pressing, in their face, classic Brad Marchand. And to see him be able to elevate himself and bring himself up to that particular level, but no one else is, that's what tipped me off in thinking, what is going on with this leadership core?
Right.
Then
Are they not following the lead? Are they not seeing that? I mean, again, I made my case last week for my concerns about his performance. I think it's just, it's a lot of hockey years on there. A lot of hockey years
right
on there right now.
It is. But at the end of the day,
when
got
you
your
see someone trying to go your captain go that extra mile, and you're not saying, all right, this guy's trying to push us to play better. He takes his licks from his coach and then says all the right things in the post game by saying, hey, he should have let me have it. That was a dumb thing for me to do. I shouldn't be trying to stick handle through, a couple of guys. It just leads me to wonder, where is the disconnect? Because this roster has talent. Is it all elite talent? No, it's not all elite talent.
Right.
No team can have all elite talent.
You need that
right?
mix, though.
But these are really good, talented NHL players who are simply either not feeling it, or are they? Is the message from Coach Montgomery getting lost right now? But something at some point, if this pattern that we're seeing, that we're seeing continues, this team could likely cost their coach his job.
Yeah.
Because
it's
where
a
is a GM going to look first to shake something up? A coach can try to shake things up by moving the lines around. And there were some crazy lines this morning at Morning Skate where literally he split up Kastelik, Kepke, and Beecher and sprinkled them through the other lines. Geeky wasn't even factored in. I'm done. I think I'm all set with him. And you know what? Another one who I'm kind of becoming all set with, which will make one of our Discord friends very happy.
I know.
Trent Frederick, you seem
Trent
like
Frederick.
a nice kid. You seem like a nice kid. Okay. But I think I've reached my quota with you too. And again,
Yep.
not just the two of them, but this is what Monty's trying to do, right? Maybe he thinks splitting up those three guys, right? Maybe, I don't know if it's just for practice or if he's intending to use them in the game.
I mean, he tried it. He tried it briefly, I think, in the Dallas game, and then it quickly put them back
and then
together
he went back.
because it was his only functioning line.
Yeah.
So
he went back.
You know,
he went back.
It's just frustrating. I think, again, just really briefly back to the leadership, the fact that you can see the captain take everything that's going on, raise his game to that next level. But I'm not seeing David Pastrnak do that. I'm not seeing Charlie McAvoy do that. And that's a problem.
It is a problem. I agree with you.
I got a problem with that. I have a problem with how they are or are not leading. I mean, again, we don't know what conversations are.
I'm more annoyed.
I'm not seeing it translate
at McAvoy than I am at Pasta. Pasta's going to get his at some point. I don't know what's going on with,
And he's scoring goals. I mean, it's not like he's doing nothing.
Is nagging at him that we're not aware of. But McAvoy,
doing nothing.
How long are we supposed to wait? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I asked this last week, and I'm going to keep asking it. How long are we supposed to wait for him to start earning his $9 million freaking dollars? So all we heard last season is, well, they're asking him to do too much. They're asking him to do too much. They're asking him to do too much. Okay.
But you're an alternate captain.
But now you're an alternate captain. The way it works on
Bruins is
now you've got a solid defensive structure around you. And frankly,
go back to the way it was.
I'm not seeing the benefit of having him out in that first power play unit, quarterbacking that power play. I wouldn't even be bitching about him if they were popping in power play goals when he's at the point quarterbacking that power play. But even that's not working right now.
It's becoming, and I'm trying not to go down this path because, again, something that we have talked about is understanding the age at which different positions really start to hit their stride and reach their full potential. And defensemen, it's typically 27 and 28 years old. So I know he's not quite there yet, but I don't think that, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't think that Charlie McAvoy,
because you paid him right, like he was already there. He's been and had a lot more experience playing with the Boston Bruins, that he should be much more seasoned and much more relevant and much more involved in games than he has been. And we know it's there. We've seen it. He just doesn't do it consistently, so that I can point a finger at him and say, dude, you see, right, that the struggle is friggin' real. You hit like a Mack truck. Can you lay a hit on someone that will at least energize your team? I'd give you credit for that. But instead, it seems like this current team is waiting for the fourth line, which is very scary, waiting for the fourth line to drive the energy, the play, and the physicality.
Yeah.
Does that sound like that sound like a winning recipe to you?
No. And unfortunately, I don't think that at this point, I don't think that Charlie McAvoy will ever become the defenseman, that Norris Trophy defenseman, franchise defenseman that everyone thought he would be.
And shame
I
on
don't think he's ever going to fulfill that.
Shame on Don Sweeney then. Shame on Don Sweeney for giving us the impression that that's what he would be, and for paying him
Yep. But I
as
think,
such.
but here's the thing. I don't think that's exclusive to Don Sweeney. I think that that's what people across the league thought and still think that is going to happen. I hear this not just in Boston Bruins conversation, but in league-wide conversations where everyone's like, okay, comparing him to Adam Fox and saying, he's going to be the next one. He's just shy every year. He's just shy, but he's going to get there. He's going to get there. I don't think he is ever going to get there, unfortunately. And I don't think, I just think he was probably on this trajectory, and I hope I eat my words. I please don't get this confused with anything other than
No,
this is just how I'm interpreting how it is now. But I think he was on this trajectory. He was phenomenal for his age. He was really, really good. And then he has plateaued. And I think that plateau is actually his peak. And everyone just misread where he would land based on the trajectory that he was on when he was 22 years old. Because he was phenomenal.
Don't take this offensively, but I hope you're wrong.
I do. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong, right? And you know how I mean that, not because that could be, that could not bode well for the future of this Boston Bruins team. And I hear sprinklings of this on occasion where I hear the outside noise of people saying, you got to trade McAvoy. Trade him.
Well, that's insane. I mean, I'm not saying that whatsoever. Not at all, but.
No, but I'm just saying
said,
in keeping with your assessment and what your, trajectory of him might be, right? We're not saying that's what it is, but you can see when you hear that, and then you hear others who are saying, they just, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. Yeah. In which case you probably should have traded him, or maybe you should trade him. We're not saying that now. I'm just saying what I hear. I just need to see more from. Yep. And again, folks, it's not just him. There's a lot of blame pie to go around here. A lot of blame pie to go around. So
let's we had a couple of listener questions that we definitely want to make sure that we have before we run out of all of our time. I think we've kind of touched on a lot of things that people have asked about.
I found this one very interesting. This is from a listener and a follower on X, formerly known as Twitter, of our show, Joe at Bruin Blood, and this is related to Matt Poitras, and it's funny because he might have been reading my mind. Has the talent to stick in this league, and I'm sure he will, but he seems to go down every game. Maybe some seasoning in Providence. He needs to be tougher. Thoughts. And it's funny because he took a hit, and it was incidental contact. It wasn't anything egregious on the part of the Flyers player that he came in contact with. But he came up gingerly. He looked to be in a little bit of pain, and he might have missed a shift, maybe two. He did get back out there, and my thought was very similar to Joe in that I really like this player. Yeah, but boy, he's an injury waiting to happen because. For me, I don't think he has a full awareness of what's coming at him sometimes, particularly in the corners. He has, a propensity sometimes with his head being down, and he is prone to getting rocked. So, Joe, to answer your question, I don't think that they're going to send him to Providence in the near future because he's being counted on, Matt Poitras, as a contributor to the big
Yeah.
boy club. Now, barring anything changing, if he does get injured, which we hope he doesn't, there's always that possibility. But I think with the kid that young, this is part of his off-season, I would think, regiment, where he's got to build up his strength, bulk himself up, which he did a little bit in this off-season. He did put on a little bit of weight. But yeah, I do agree with Joe that he does go down sometimes a bit too easily and a bit hard. And sometimes I find myself catching my breath like, shit, is he going to get up?
Yeah.
Is he going to get up?
Yeah. I think it's a fair point. I do have the same concerns. I think part of it is, I agree with you, Maria. He's got to be working on these things year round. He is still also like an infant. So it's probably hard to put that weight on. Like he's literally still a growing boy. So that weight, that size is a way to protect yourself. And like some of that, it's going to take time. But also some of the things that I think that the Bruins could be doing better, to help him and protect him, because I do think that he needs to stay up in Boston. I understand. And if the Bruins were in a better position today, I'd say, yeah, send him down there, have him, practice and do the work in Providence, but the Bruins need him. He
Yes, they do.
Provides a level of speed, and he's more of a, what's the word? Like a finesse player that the Bruins need more of, right? You're thinking David Pastrnak, you need another finesse player on another line. So he needs to be on the appropriate line, which means he really needs to be sticking around with Brad Marchand, because we saw him on that line. I think that was the Toronto game, and that was great. I think that's the appropriate line for him. It's a higher level of skill that is required of him. So it challenges him, pushes him there. He's got better mentorship that he's getting from the other players who can help him in game better. So then if he's on the third line, I don't think there's anyone on that line who can really help him or keep up with him or play with him. So I think there's a combination of things, right? It's time. He's got to grow. He's got to finish growing. It's the work that he's got to put in for himself and the protections that the team needs to put into place for him, because they still very much so need him. They can't afford to not have him there.
Right.
So
right. I think he's here for the foreseeable, which again, he needs to be here, and likely, he might be able to be put in a better position if other members of the roster were contributing more regularly, right? And all of this continues to force Jim Montgomery to put his lines in blenders with the hope that he's going to spark someone. Charlie Coyle will pop in a goal or two, or, Morgan Geeky, or, Pasta. It doesn't, you can go on and on and on ad nauseum at this point, but, he's trying to make the best, Monty, out of the personnel that he has been given to work with. And I don't think that anyone would have expected the lack of production that we're seeing. We have one more question from our friend who follows us on X, and also our Discord friend at MF Grant. And since we can only see what's happening on the ice, who do we place the most blame with here? Coaching staff for continuing to not have them ready, the players for simply not putting in consistent efforts, all of the above, man. It's all of the above. They speak to it, each time we have a, Nashville Predator, Dallas Star, Philadelphia Flyer type loss, which already this season, in the short season, there have been too many of those. Of those losses. I think that I'm at a point now where I'm going to be holding players more accountable than I am the coaches.
Yeah.
Not saying they're
I agree.
absolvent of any blame.
No. I agree because of these persistent issues that I said at the top of the pod that we've seen year after year after year. And there are a lot of players, a lot of veterans who have been a part of those teams that committed these same crimes year after year after year, and things aren't changing. So, part of it is I think a large part of it is a personnel thing. There's only so much a coach can do to break bad habits and change how a player plays. And I don't know. That's it. I
know this is not part of the Bruins culture, but I would love to hear someone say at one of these post-game scrums, we sucked. We sucked, and we all need to be better.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Before we go, I have one last little Halloween surprise, but you can do your wrap up.
We didn't get to the waiver transaction.
Well,
just quickly, folks. The Bruins waived Riley Tuft, and I love that. Holy crap.
It barely fits my head.
That is a beauty. That is a beauty. You are a beauty.
Well, it's already been a scary enough season.
Bear costume from one of my friends. That is awesome.
Yep.
Well, we had to.
This is a vintage TD Garden. There you go.
A fun note.
There you go. Well, this is all I got right now, Maria, because it's hard being a Bruins fan today.
Everything will seem a little bit better if the Bruins can, string together a couple of wins. Where they're going to find them but start with Carolina. It's a really good team. Show us that.
And we know that they can respond.
Show us that you can hang with the really good team, even if you lose, right? I'd prefer that you win, but even if you lose, right? 4-3, 3-2.
Yep.
But you hung with the good team. Can we just do that?
To be seen. Any final thoughts, Maria, before we beat this dead horse even further?
No, I think we've not only we've kicked it, we've beat it, we've done this much too early
jerky out of it.
But you know what? This is what our podcast is about, folks. We're going to tell you how we feel, what we see, what we think. You may not agree with it. You may not like it. You may think we're out in left field. But we thank you.
Let us know
for listening to us. Please let us know.
100%. We
follow our show account on X at Tape to Tape MK. You can follow me on X as well at Maria of H2O Town. Subscribe, give us a like. We're on Apple, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. And with that, you have the floor.
Of course. Yes. And we strongly encourage anyone and everyone to come join us in our Discord. It's free. It's a great place. We literally have phenomenal Discord. We don't always agree, but we have a fantastic culture in our group where we can talk about hockey. As I say every week, you don't have to be a super expert on every element of hockey and know how every play is run and everything, you just come and you share about what you're watching. We have game day chats. We watch the game together and chat. So we strongly encourage everyone to meet us there. And we do have a special event coming up soon. So mark your calendars for November 9th. We will be doing another live watch party when Linus Ullmark comes back to Boston. So we'll be posting about that as well. So do join us for that. Happy Halloween. Let's hope spooky season is over.
enjoy
And
all the fun and the costumes and the kids and your parties and all the candy that we'll all be indulging in.
And with that, as always, go Bees.
Go Bees.